What's up guys, Steven Spikes at Spike Signal here. We got the next part in our How to Write Metal series featuring the solo from Godsmack song Speak coming today. There's several cool things that I think are useful to know about for songwriting purposes, but if you haven't yet, go ahead and check out my other videos dissecting this song, as they contain tons of useful tips as well. You can download the file that I'm using here at my MuseScore account if you want to follow along. And without putting it off anymore, let's get right into it. The solo starts on measure 61 with the same rhythm played underneath as the intro riff. What's a little difficult to tell is exactly what notes are being played in the first three measures of the solo, due to heavy use of tremolo and wah, but I'm thinking it starts with a D minor inverted power chord. Right after that, it sounds to me like they're flattening the A note a little bit to add a little darkness, before making it natural again and returning to that regular D minor inverted power chord. The use of wahs really adds a feeling of movement that's helpful when the chords aren't changing very quickly, and reduces staleness. After that, on the fourth measure of the solo, we have a bend for half a beat, followed by a cool descending 16th note triplet lick on beat 3. On the fourth beat of the measure, we have some 16th note triplet stuff, but this time utilizing a flatted accidental, which is the flat 2 of G, which is almost indicative of the Phrygian mode that was being used before, just in a different key this time. After that, we go to a measure full of bends that are reaching up to the A, with the first bend being that of a dotted quarter note to give a little bit of an extra groove to the passage. On measure 66, there's another use of an accidental and a quick trill leading to the A flat in the next measure. We then have a quick 30-second note lick for beats 1 and 2 of measure 67 that's essentially outlining a D diminished chord. As the fifth is flatted, this lick ends on a G note and jumps up a flat 7 from that to an F, then essentially slides out. The final lick in the solo involves the use of chords higher up on the neck, and for this passage especially, please note that this is just an approximation of what might be happening in the song, as it's kind of hard to tell. The start of this lick actually sounds like it starts on the end of the fourth beat of the prior measure, which is important for the feel of the line here. The higher notes of this chord here alternate between an F and a G respectively, with D functioning here as the root for the entire passage. Once this line finishes, a D note is held for a little bit with some vibrato and eventually slides out. A couple key takeaways from the solo. First of all, there's a lot of revolving around chords based off of the D note, or the fifth of G minor, which gives that Phrygian sound. This is because the main riff played underneath the solo is the intro riff that's based around the 5 and leverages that Phrygian sound. Therefore, playing a lot of notes that come from that triad is a good way to make things sound unified. Second, and relating to this section right here, when you're doing chord tones soloing around a chord in the rhythm, you can get an interesting aesthetic by flatting the fifth of that chord and essentially making it diminished. If you're going for a sort of off-kilter sound to your solo, that'll definitely get you there. Third, you can use notes that fit outside of the solo that you're playing if it gives you an effect that you like. While not part of the solo, I wanted to take a second to talk about the outro lead as well. The starting melody of this lead is the same as most of the song, being predicated around the D minor or Phrygian chord. The line starts by playing notes from the D minor power chord individually or in unison based off of the beat that it's on, while all being allowed to ring out. It then moves up to the flat 6 of G minor or an E flat major power chord, and then to the flat 7 to build intensity, with slightly different rhythms compared to the first measure in this passage. Finally, the passage slides up to the G minor power chord, which is the 1 of the G minor scale, keeping in mind that this passage is being played over top of a riff that's mainly D Phrygian. This is kind of interesting because for most of the song, the current rhythm has all been D Phrygian, so playing a G minor chord, the 1 in the lead, over this D minor chord, the 5 chord in the rhythm, gives a nice feeling of completeness, while at the same time creating a bit of tension. That being said, the tension isn't overly in your face because the 5th note of the G minor power chord is D, which links the G power chord relatively well to the D Phrygian based riff in the rhythm. And with that, we've now analyzed all the lead parts of the song. That was quite a bit of stuff, but if you got some use out of it, I'd really appreciate you hitting that like button and subscribing. More importantly, please comment and let me know what you think of this analysis thus far, what can be improved, and what was most helpful to you. In the next part of this Godsmack deep dive, we're going to take a look at the parts of the song that are after the solo that we haven't yet talked about, and discuss broader concepts that we can take away for our own songwriting. All that will be coming up real soon, and when it does, I'll I'll see you right here next time on Spike Signal. Thank you.